This is Jason David Frank, and you're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
I was hearing Harold Meacham's voice in my sleep after I was watching those episodes. It was so creepy. I'm just like laying there, and I'm just hearing like, Ward, Danny, Joy, I love you. I'm like, stop. It's so creepy.
You are now on the inside of what I like to call the circle of trust. We are all connected in the great circle of life.
You know something, Bert?
What?
I think you and I are going in circles.
It feels like we're going in circles.
The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Because it's a circle.
Yeah, we heard about the circle. Yes, we're familiar with shapes.
Hi, this is Chuck.
This is Greg.
And this is Dan, and we are Talking in Circles, brought to you by the Geekcast Radio Network, the podcast that's going to have a lot of fisting and a lot of iron, as this week we are talking about Netflix's most recent Marvel series, Iron Fist. There's been a lot of controversy with this one. There's been a lot of differing opinion. Well, I guess differing isn't the right word, but anyways, we'll get to that. I'm curious to hear what you guys think of it. But before we get to that, we actually have a lot to talk about, including the Spider-Man Homecoming trailer, the Justice League trailer. It's been a busy week in the world of comic book news, TV shows, and movies. Besides all that, how have things been going with you guys?
I think you could skip me. My day was terrible today, so we could go to the more uplifting stories with you guys. How about that?
Okay, well, I got to show my son real-life dinosaurs not too long ago, and that was exciting.
See, that's an awesome story so far.
Yeah,
Nice.
we went to the Franklin Institute. Well, obviously not real-life dinosaurs, but he didn't know the difference because he's 22 months old. We went to the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia, and they have a Jurassic World section, and I thought, like, it was just going to be like the fossils and stuff like that you would see, but no, they're like the actual animatronics that looked like they were from the movie. It was pretty incredible. Like, you walk in and there's like a brontosaurus, and then there's this gigantic triceratops, and they even do like a mockery of the Jurassic Park T-Rex scene. It's not as intense, it's not as long. It's awesome. Like, I'm impressed. The raptor scene's kind of weird because it's like 5 minutes and it's just in the cage, and it's a guy in the suit, so it's like that guy has to do that all day because I do one every like 10 minutes. So I'm like, that's he deserves a medal for that. But
So sweaty.
Yeah, but it was awesome. My son did get kind of scared a few times because it's like, these gigantic monsters, and I was scared that he would have nightmares, but he was fine by the end of it. So it was really cool. I would highly recommend it. You had the opportunity to. I think I actually liked it more than the movie. Not Jurassic Park, the first one, but definitely maybe the second one. So
That's pretty awesome. I actually know somebody else that was there this week as well.
oh, nice.
Kind of weird. Did they have, like, was it a special exhibit, or is this going on for, like, every week or whatever?
It's a special exhibit. I don't know how long they're having it for. I think it's like they do a different one every season, so I think this is their spring one, and then they'll do a different one in the summer. So they have like different ones that rotate, and they have like other things there too. Like there's like a portion for the brain, portion for the heart. It's actually like an intense museum. There's like we didn't even see everything when we were there. 6 hours or so. There's a lot to it. So you can spend all day there. He was a little too young for most of it. We met all of our family there, a lot of our family. So, and there's like, he's the youngest, and then it ranges in the age up all the way up to 12. So the older kids probably enjoyed it more, but it does have some really cool things. And there's like this it's like zip line slide thing, like rope that people can go on. They have a limited space, but they use it. And there's train museum parts in the space section. It's like its own little Disney World of science in a way. So
nice. Did they have the Jurassic Park music?
They did. And when you walk in, they make it seem like you're actually going in Jurassic Park. They show you a video, of people like talking, like it's like a, as if with in the background, and then they're trying to act like everything's going bad. And as things go more and more, you see more and more videos, and by the end, it's like, hell's broken loose, and there's gunshots firing and stuff like that. And yeah. So.
Wait, were they on the video or like outside? Because this wasn't Philly.
True. They were on the video. They might have been outside too, but how are things going with you, Chuck?
Pretty good. I haven't been on in a few episodes, but I don't know. I haven't been up to too awful much. I spent most of the time shoveling snow, probably.
Yeah, you guys got hit hard.
Oh yeah, we did. I knew it was coming too eventually because the last few years you guys really got nailed, and we were kind of spared. So I'm like, one of these years it's gonna be reversed, and it's probably gonna be this year. But I was kind of happy because we keep getting these little nuisance storms and everything. I'm like, if we're gonna inconvenience everybody, let's just like have a huge storm and get it over with. And I want a huge blizzard, and we got about 30 inches of snow, so that definitely fit the bill. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. We got about 2.5 feet, and it was a very short amount of time. It was like half a day we got that much snow. It was like unbelievable how fast it was snowing. I think they said it was about 3 inches per hour. And you wake up early in the morning and there's like a little bit of snow. And then I kind of like went back to bed and I woke up and there's like 16 inches out there, and then it just kept going. And surprisingly, my office actually closed for the day, which is very rare. And then I ended up taking a day off afterwards because things were pretty nasty and people were getting in accidents and stuff like that. So I'm like, I'm just going to stay home and enjoy this.
Yeah.
So.
I know. I mean, we got a little bit like there was a debate like who's going to get hurt. Not debate, but it was depending on how far north or south it went. Like we were going to maybe get hit the blunt of it, but we ended up getting like 3 inches or so, 4 inches. But what sucked for us was that we got like 3 inches, but then it was ice, so it was like a pain in the butt to shovel because it was just shoveling ice, and I just had a plastic shovel, so it was a journey.
Yeah, I bet.
Craziness. But like you mentioned, Chuck, I know you haven't been on for the last episode, but I do know that you said you did watch something recently, so if you want to go over that.
Actually, it's more of a read than a watch.
Really? Read? Wow.
Yes. I haven't been able to read anything in quite a while, but I found something kind of totally by happenstance. I wasn't looking for it. And I think I remember...
Was it Waldo by any chance? Because that'd be kind of...
Yes. I think I remember you guys talking about it a while back. I don't know if Greg brought it up. I'm not sure if Greg read this, but I remember, Dan, you said you went to a panel about this at the one Comic-Con, and it's the Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover.
Yeah,
Dan has been reading that.
Yeah, I read which one, because there's like a couple of them. The animated series one, or just the regular Batman TMT one.
I think this is the regular one.
Is it done by James Tinney in the fourth?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, stuff. I read that. I did. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it as well. I actually came across it on Amazon. It popped up as one of the similar items or whatever, when you buy stuff, and I was like, I remember Dan like talking about this a little bit, and like I'm gonna check it out. It was really cheap. I think I got it for like $10 or something. It's a hardcover version, and there's all kind of extras in it and stuff, which is really cool. So I'm like, what the hell, give it a try. And it's a really nice hardcover, actually, like really glossy cover. There's all kinds of stuff in the back, original artwork and sketches and stuff like that. And every single issue cover and every single variant cover is included as well. It's reprinted. So I thought that was pretty cool. I was impressed by that. A lot of the variant covers were done by Kevin Eastman and another guy, which I thought was pretty cool. And I was really digging some of the artwork. It's really, really nice stuff. There's some black and white stuff as well as color, and they're all really sweet. Like, they could have used any of these covers, and it would have been spectacular. So I enjoyed that, and the actual story, I was a big fan of it. It totally took me back to my childhood. Like, it's just a fun story. It's a really fun read, especially growing up, I guess kind of before I got into X-Men and Spider-Man and stuff like that. These were my first two comic themed cartoons and stuff like that. Turtles and Batman, I was into those first, so this really took me back to like the early part of my childhood, which was really neat. And I thought they blended the story together really well. And even the villains as well as the heroes. You know, you have Shredder working with Batman's villains and stuff like that. There's some special cameo appearances and things like that. And I was worried in the beginning that they were going to make the Turtles too goofy, kind of, and like not like good enough fighters to kind of hang with Batman. But as the story goes on, I think they kind of change that, and you start seeing the Turtles become more formidable, and you see like Leonardo sparring with Batman, and that's really interesting scene and stuff like that. So I really got a kick out of it. I enjoyed it a lot. I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, I liked how, I mean, it was kind of like the childhood dream come true, like seeing Batman and Shredder square off, and I mean, it did follow the normal format you would expect for crossovers, but I think with Tinian, he has the voice of all those different characters, so it did seem like he was consistent with all of them, and he understood all of them. He was able to kind of let each one shine, and the plot was, well enough done. Like it wasn't forced like a lot of crossovers are. I don't know if you've read any of the Power Rangers Justice League crossover that's been going on. That one I've
been reading that.
Yeah, I haven't enjoyed that one as much as this. I've only read the first 2 issues of that though, so it couldn't have gotten better. But yeah, I echo pretty much your enjoyment of it as well.
Yeah, I think all of the characters I think were pretty much in character. Like you said, he had a good understanding of them and everything. Especially like Michelangelo freaking out about all the cool stuff in the Batcave. He's trying to ride the T-Rex and everything, and they're like really into the Batmobile, and Donatello loves his computer and stuff, like stuff that just makes sense. It's it was just good that they didn't like gloss over that stuff. So
yeah,
definitely enjoyed it.
I will say if you did like that, it's kind of a little bit different, but it's Tinian's current run on Detective Comics. Like he took over it since Rebirth, and that's been fun because it's been like a Batman Adventures in a way. Like it's been.
I love that one.
Yeah, it's been the use of Clayface in that has been amazing.
Yeah, he's the best in that.
They turn him into a good guy, and he's kind of like their Thing in a way, like in the sense of like the Thing from Fantastic Four. I realize that would maybe be confusing for some people, but that's really, he's a good writer. I like a lot of his stuff. So
yeah, I really dig the art in this too a lot. Yeah. I think it's Freddie Williams. Is that who it is?
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of him. He does good stuff.
Yeah,
on Detective, it's Eddie Barrows, and he does really good stuff as well.
Freddie Williams did it. I guess he does Robin. It says that he's credited with doing the book Robin.
Yeah, I would even echo saying like the IDW stuff has been really good for the Turtles. Like that's a good take on it. And they just launched a new version of it, like TMT Universal. It came out around the time of Baltimore Comic Con. There was actually an exclusive Baltimore Comic Con cover, and that one's a little bit different than the other. There's like 2 concurrent series going on. That's a lot of fun. It's like I think 50 issues or so now, and it kind of combines like all the different types of turtles and kind of does a mishmash and creates its own type of lore as well. So, and I usually don't like licensed material. Well, I guess it's different because Turtles was originally a comic book, but it's a good update, I think, without it being completely out of the norm. So.
Yeah. Now, did you read this particular story individual issues, or did you have the collection?
Individually, but it was a lot of like, where you do it individually, but you probably save up a couple issues and then read it. So I think mostly, yeah. So it was kind of like 1 or 2 here.
I was gonna say,
yeah.
Was it like harder to follow like that, or was it not bad?
No, it wasn't too bad. It might take, just as it is normally with month-to-month comics, as I'm reading it, and I'm like, it takes a few pages just to refresh where I was last. But
yeah, very cool.
Nice. And also, Greg, I know you watched something again. I guess the anime fever is catching on with you, as I hear it does, and you checked out another anime.
Yeah, I checked out another one because I was like, oh, I like that one, so let's see if I can't find something else that's kind of in the same vein. I did find Captain Harlock. I forget the rest of the title, but it's like a space pirate kind of adventure kind of deal. And it had the same style CGI as Gantz, and the animation was really well done. Chuck, I believe you missed the Gantz review that I did. That CGI is kind of like a better version of the Marvel Legends that we were like, we love the cutscenes in this. Wish they would do an animated like this, but it was that kind of well done, but even like triple folds better than that animation. This one, opposed to Gantz, had a much better story kind of going on, a more interesting story. It didn't have as much action going on, but that was fine because the story definitely made up for it, I thought. Disappointingly, not as much boobs kind of going on. There was one kind of nude scene going on, but you didn't see anything. But there was a little bit of a boob jiggle animation kind of going on because it's an anime and they have to do that apparently. But I would recommend that one, and I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for more anime kind of in the same vein with these CG animation, because even if the story's bad or something, there's going to be a lot of action, and the art is really, really well done, I believe.
Nice. That's very cool. I just saw that One Punch Man became available on Netflix, and I heard a lot of great things for that, so I might have to check that out. We'll see.
Yeah, I always hear about One Punch Man all the time, and I'm like, I don't know. It's one of those weird anime things to me. I guess I'll have to check it out since I'm on a roll here.
Yeah, keep it going. But the other things that dropped this weekend, or this week, or recently, were two big trailers, and I guess we can start with. Let's start with the Spider-Man Homecoming trailer. The second trailer that's been released, and we get a lot more in this one, certainly. Some more stuff with Peter Parker and Tony Stark, some more stuff in the school. It really kind of lays out the plot overall. So I think we all enjoyed the first one for the most part, but I guess, Chuck, I was curious to hear what you thought about this most recent trailer. You more excited, less excited? Do you feel like you've seen the entire movie now?
I'd say probably right around the same. Some things about the trailer got me a little bit more psyched, and then there was something about it that kind of took it down a notch as well. So I guess I didn't realize just how much Tony Stark would be involved. I guess kind of seems like he's a little bit more involved than I realized, which I don't really have too much of a problem with it. The problem I did have with that was that it was almost like he's kind of this, like a really close, like hands-on mentor sort of, and like where you see in the trailer, you see Peter kind of screw up, and he wants to take the suit back and everything, and he's like apologizing to him, and I'm like, I don't know if I kind of like that as much as I kind of like to see Peter kind of make his own way more like he did in the comics, be a little bit more self-reliant, which maybe when we watch the full film, maybe it'll play out a little bit more like that. It looks like they're sort of leading up to that, where like maybe it looks like Stark takes a suit and he kind of disappears for like probably the second half of the movie, and then maybe Peter kind of proves himself there. But I'm kind of curious to see how that plays out. I hope it doesn't, I hope it goes the way that I kind of wanted to. But I did like some of the other stuff I was seeing. We get to see a little bit more of the aspects of his suit, and his one close friend looks like he's going to be a pretty funny character, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. Some of the action scenes look pretty cool, so I would say I'm probably right about where I was before.
Nice. Greg, what about you?
Yeah, I definitely agree with a lot of the stuff Chuck said there. The relationship with Tony seems like there's a lot more of that than I expected as well. I'm not really sure if I'm into that. It's like this weird, awkward relationship kind of thing, but there were a lot of good points in there. Like the friend does look really funny. I think Michael Keaton looks like he's really going to be bringing it, and I think he looks pretty cool with the vulture costume and everything. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, because I do enjoy Michael Keaton in a lot of stuff. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. The big thing for me is the Tony Peter Parker relationship. It seems really bizarre to me, and Tony seems a lot more cranky anymore. Like in Captain America Civil War, he was kind of cranky and everything, and everything was kind of weighing heavily on him. He's not really a fun character anymore now that he's not in his solo adventures, I guess.
He had a couple good quips. I mean, still, like, he has the not going for hug moment and things like that. So he's got a little bit more on his mind now. Maybe he's just trying to be serious to score with his hot aunt, Showing that
I honestly think the reason for that is ever since Scarlet Witch messed with his head and he saw that, alternate future where everyone was dead around him and, he kind of had that guilt, like he failed everyone. I think that kind of messed him up. And it seems like ever since they played that, scene, it seems like he's kind of been drastically different.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, even especially you saw that a lot with Iron Man. Well, no, Iron Man 3 was before that. But even since the first Avengers, he's kind of had this self-doubt kind of creep in since he almost died and then saw himself and everyone else die. So, but I guess it makes sense. I know there's only so much more they can do with that character, and now also they released that. I think Chris Evans said his last role in Cap is going to be the Avengers Infinity movies, and apparently Sony might be taking Spider-Man back after that because they want to do a Venom movie. So I don't know what Marvel's going to be doing in a couple of years. I guess they're going to they have some things obviously in the works, but it's going to be a lot. I think in 4 years or so, it's going to be a whole new Avengers, as they say. I didn't give my thoughts. I kind of agree with you guys. The thing that kind of bugged me was that it does seem like it legitimately just was the Cliff Notes version of the film. I don't mind the trailers that much, but I do feel like it's a little bit too much. Not any huge plot points were taken out. It's not like the Batman v Superman trailer where we learned every single thing and every twist and turn. But I do wonder, if there's anything else there. I still love Tom Holland. I do hope they do some more stuff in the high school and kind of use that part of the character, because that's something we really haven't seen in film, and it's not really in the comics all that much. It's clear they're taking stuff from all over, from the Ultimate Universe to I think even the character that looks like his friend just reminds me a lot of Golden Balls, right? The one character, or is it Miles Morales' friend from? I'm not sure, but it's
there's an X-Men character named Goldballs.
Yeah, so I like it. Vulture still I'm a little questionable about. I think Keaton will be fun, but still the look of him I'm not sold on. We'll see. But
I will say I'm excited to see Shocker for sure, because for whatever reason, I know he's really corny, but he's one of my favorite villains for some reason.
They even show him in the trailer, have they? I didn't even notice.
There was a real quick thing where he kind of blasts Spider-Man into this bus or something, and I was like, "Oh, Shocker!" And that was all they really showed. But I love that character for some reason. It's so simple that he's just one of those punching bag villains that it's so easy to beat.
It's like him and Rhino. It's always. I think because Shocker was such a big part of the animated series in the 90s. He was in every other episode. So
yeah,
cool. The other trailer that dropped, of course, was the Justice League trailer, which I guess was the first trailer, but I felt like we already had a trailer before, but that wasn't really a trailer. It was a sizzle reel, which I'm we need new terminology, because every week there's a new thing where we're teasers for trailers. But anyways, but Greg, what were your thoughts of the most recent or first Justice League trailer?
Yeah, I like the scenes with Gal Gadot in them. I like the Wonder Woman scenes. But otherwise, I'm still kind of really on the fence. I'm not sure if they really added much from the sizzle reel, since I feel like there's a lot of the same parts. But it looks okay. Still on the fence.
Still on the fence, I guess. You haven't jumped off the fence, so at least there's that.
Yeah.
So, Chuck,
DC hasn't really earned my trust yet.
Yeah, that's understandable. Chuck, are you still on the fence? Are you over the fence, or you're putting up the fence and you're just like, nope, I'm gonna just keep building this fence up higher?
I'm slowly putting one leg over the fence while keeping an eye on the Rottweiler on the other side.
That's named Zack Snyder. So yeah,
right. He may chase me away. I don't know. But no, there's a lot of cool things that I like about it so far. I'm loving what they're doing with Aquaman. I think that's going to be fantastic. And I feel like they kind of went into some of their initial meetings and were like, all right, we need to change the perception of Aquaman from being the lame-ass character that everyone thinks he is to being the biggest badass in this movie. I feel like that was one of their primary goals. But I really like what they're doing with them. They're showing a very tough side of him and adventurous. You see him like riding on top of the Batmobile while Bruce is like flying down the highway. That was pretty sweet, and I think I'm gonna like where they're taking that character. I'm definitely fully on board with Wonder Woman. I think she's gonna be great, and I really hope they have that music in there as well, like her theme music.
Oh yeah, I love that.
That is awesome. They need to have that whenever she is in any movie, and obviously we may not see Superman for the better part of the film because he's, doing his whole regeneration suit thing. So we'll see what happens there. One thing I will say that I don't like is the Flash. For whatever reason, it's kind of irking me.
Yeah. What did you think about his suit?
It's really bugging me. I don't know. It just looks pretty terrible.
I agree with that.
It just seems like they're trying to. I realize there's a lot of characters, and it's hard to coordinate all of these characters, but it just seems like he's like a little bit harder to explain, and to me, he's kind of being shoehorned in there somehow. Maybe I don't know where I'm getting at, but it just seems like he deserves a little bit more of an explanation. But I don't know. I guess you could say that about any of them, though, because you could say that about Wonder Woman, but she has a movie coming out soon, so you don't really have to wait that long. Or Flash, I don't even know when that's coming out. We're gonna have to wait a while for that one. I think
anybody does. I don't think Warner Brothers knows when that's coming out.
I know. They're like drawing straws right now to like pick a weekend. Like, I came up against Star Wars. Should pick a different one. So I don't know. There's something about the Flash that's just irking me right now, and I hope that it doesn't come across that way when I actually see it. But I'm not too thrilled about that. But like the other characters, Cyborg, I'm kind of indifferent on. That looks like it might be pretty cool. They might do a decent job on that. But I'm really looking forward to seeing Aquaman and Wonder Woman. I think that's going to be pretty sweet. Yeah,
I mean, I thought the CGI in Cyborg in certain moments just looked like unprofessionally done. Like I don't know if they're still in the process of doing things, but considering like this is their first trailer and they're putting their best foot forward, like that seemed like a foot they should have maybe held back a little bit. Maybe had a athlete's foot with toe fungus on it. It just was not a good foot to put forward. There's some stuff.
Active.
Yeah, there's some stuff I did like about the trailer. I do like the fact that, like, unlike the Spider-Man trailer, I don't have a huge sense of the plot yet. Like, they're giving it bit by bit. They're not doing a Batman v Superman and giving me everything. They didn't even show that Superman was there, which does seem weird. Like, you having a Justice League come together and without Superman there, it does seem like a little, less impactful. It'd be like the Avengers coming together and Captain America not being there. It also makes you realize that they kind of went to the death a little bit too soon, because that death would mean a lot more if it was impacted by more characters and you could see the impact of the entire team, and you don't really get that. So it's a weird shoot. It feels like they didn't really think that through all the way. I agree. The Flash just looks. I like the actor, that Ezra Miller. I've liked him in a lot of things, but he just seems, I don't know, off, and I don't like the look of his costume. I don't like the look of the Speed Force and how they're using it. It just, I don't like the look of the movie overall. Just the grayness. It also looks really vacant. Like there's like no one there. Every scene that you have, like only a few characters for the most part. There's a couple big battle sequences. It looks like there's one in Themyscira that's happening, but I also noticed that there's like no interaction with the Justice League and regular people for the most part. Like nothing about them saving anyone. And I feel like that's a huge part of what the Justice League should be. Again, that could be coming soon, but the Aquaman stuff was amazing. I do like what they're doing with him. Jason Momoa looks like he's going to kill that role. I do like the fact they're adding in some more humor. Hopefully that will be consistent throughout. And, I don't know. I have hope. Not a lot of hope. It did get released at it's going to be like 2 hours and 40 minutes, which is intense for a movie, for an action summer blockbuster or whenever it's coming out. Wow. So a lot of red flags for me, mainly because being a DC film, being a Zack Snyder DC film. I have much more faith in Wonder Woman compared to this. So I'm hoping that the good will outshine the bad. There's still a lot to be unsaid. There's still a lot going on. I don't know if they're even done filming yet, but I I'm not super looking forward to it, to be honest. Like, I don't know if I'll see it in theaters. It'll see how Wonder Woman goes. If Wonder Woman is also bad, I'm just going to be like, you know what? I've learned my lesson, DC. I've learned my lesson. So, all right.
Yeah. One thing that was cool was the parademons that they kind of hinted at in a couple of scenes. That was really interesting, especially one in the background that's kind of creeping around. Because probably a lot of people don't know what that is. They're like, what is that thing? And that was kind of cool. But one thing I really get and didn't get, and I was curious what you guys thought about this, but Bruce Wayne is a billionaire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why the hell was he seeking these people out on a horse?
It's maybe it's inconspicuous. Maybe, I don't know. He has a plane.
Maybe
was that Bruce Wayne, or I thought maybe it could be someone else too.
It could be someone else. Maybe I just kind of jumped the gun in assuming it was, but I heard some other people talking about it too, that they assumed that it was him, and maybe it's not. Maybe it's a total curveball. But if it is him, I don't know if he's trying to give more of an impact, that he like made an effort to reach these people, like he actually worked at it to reach them. Or I'm just thinking, like, why can't you just zip over in the bat plane and just like hover there, be like, yo, come on, we're putting a team together.
I am Batman. It does still seem weird to me that he just reveals who he is to like the Flash. It's like, hey, I'm Batman. It just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It
just seems out of character.
You're doing it all wrong, Dan.
I'm Batman.
True.
It seems out of character for Batman to, you think he would. It's like, okay, here's this powerful guy that I never met before. I'm just gonna tell him my secret identity. What the hell?
Yeah. Well,
I think he'd be a little more guarded, I don't know.
I know, yeah, but we'll see. Not trying to be a hater. I'm hoping that it's good. I really want it to be good. I want DC movies to be good, but I don't know. I have my worries. But all right, anything else before we take a quick break?
Nope.
Alrighty. Well, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be talking all about Danny Rand himself, Iron Fist. We'll see you in a bit.
Hey guys, this is JD from the In Session Film Podcast. Every week on our show, you can join my co-host Brendan and I as we review the latest films that's out in theaters. It also inspires us to discuss a top 3 list of some sort, and we have a lot of other fun movie discussions as well. It's always a blast. And we also have a show on Fridays called our Extra Film Podcast. This is a show that gives us the space to talk about the latest indies and art films and other classics that we normally just don't get to talk about on our main show. You can find our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Player FM, and more. In fact, you can just see everything about us, including our social medias, at InSessionFilm.com. So join us every week. We'd absolutely love to have you.
All right, and welcome back. Yes, today we're talking about Marvel's most recent Netflix series. We did a review of Luke Cage back in the day. We talked briefly about, what is that?
Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones. We did Daredevil, which I think, we were huge fans of Daredevil. I think we liked Luke Cage too. And I know you guys didn't have a lot of experience with Iron Fist going in, and there was some apprehension about this one. Like, would it work? Could they make an Iron Fist character work? Obviously, the reviews have not been great going into this, so I don't know if that impacted your expectations at all. But I know, Greg, we talked about this last record beforehand, so I'll start with Chuck. And I'm curious, Chuck, what did you think of Iron Fist?
I guess I could say in the beginning when I started watching it, I was really digging it in the first couple of episodes. It was kind of keeping me on my toes. I'm like, all right, I'm not sure where they're going with this. It was kind of exciting. But I feel like as the show went on, it seemed really kind of all over the place and sporadic. And I guess like by the end, it felt like a totally different show that I was watching, and like not in a good way. I mean, you want your characters to go over a big arc and everything, but it just felt like I was watching a completely different show by the end, and it was kind of a weird feeling. I never really felt that before watching a show. I think part of that is, I think I don't know if are we doing spoilers?
It's a good point. Yes, we'll do spoilers. So if you have not listened to Iron Fist, or sorry, if not watched Iron Fist, I would go ahead and stop watching or listening to this and then come back later. But let's just go full spoilers. It's 13 episodes, so hopefully by now, if you're interested in enough, you've watched it already.
Yeah. I think part of the reason that it felt like a different show to me at the end was that I think the climax with Bakudo was better than the end climax with Meacham, and I felt like maybe they kind of peaked too soon there, and it felt like that last episode was just kind of thrown in there, and I was like, why is this here? Like, I don't know if we really need this. They could have went another way with that. I think Ward's kind of character arc, like his turn back to the good side, so to speak, it was kind of underwhelming for me. Kind of felt out of place for whatever reason. I think Finn Jones as Danny Rand, I think in the beginning I was definitely on board. I think he did fairly well. I think as it went on, he just got annoying somehow. They were kind of, they're going with the theme of his inner struggle with his emotions and this and that, and but it just, the back and forth kind of got to me. It just got real old to me for some reason. He keeps saying he's totally in control of his anger, but yet like every 5 seconds he's flipping out, and I know they're trying to illustrate that he's going through things he's never experienced yet with feelings of love and things like that, but it just got annoying to me. It was like too much back and forth and everything. Some positive things, I really loved Colleen Wing's character. I thought that was really great. I loved Madame Gao again, reprising her role from the Daredevil show. The references to when she actually mentions Daredevil and Luke Cage in that, and the fact that she's aware of them and stuff like that, and the Hand are aware of them. I thought that was really cool. And then I thought, Harold Meacham in the beginning, I was like, this is a pretty cool villain character that they're fleshing out here. And then it seemed like they just killed him, and I was like, shit. I'm like, that was way too soon to kill this guy. That was a horrible move. And when they brought him back, I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. And then it seemed like he was worse when they brought him back. It just, I couldn't get into him then for whatever reason. Yeah. He was creepy, and like, I don't know, it was just like a weird dude, really weird. So I have a couple more things, but I'll flip it over to you guys and see what you think.
Greg, what were your thoughts on Iron Fist?
I once again, I agree with a lot of what Chuck said. To go even further, on the good side, I love it when Night Nurse is on the scene. I always get excited whenever she makes an appearance in anything throughout. I think she's a really great character, played by Rosario Dawson. And also, on the bad side of things, I was not really, like, the fights that were going on weren't the greatest ever. It was kind of like a downgrade from what's going on with Daredevil and the kind of cinematography in that. The only fight that I kind of really got into was him versus the drunk. I thought that was kind of an interesting fight. But then I had trouble with how they were portraying Danny Rand and his skills, because at the beginning he was like saying to Colleen Wing that she's getting hit by like a drunk or whatever, and if she was good, she shouldn't be getting hit. But then he's getting hit constantly too, so that was kind of weird to me. There was a lot of weird things like that, and frankly, I found Danny Rand to be kind of the boring character, and he's the lead, which isn't a good thing. I had more interest in background characters. I did enjoy Colleen Wing, even though they started this whole cage fight thing that was going on, and then that kind of felt like it was dropped weirdly. But I found her character interesting, and I found the Meachams all kind of interesting, especially the males of the family. I found Ward and his drug problems interesting, and his kind of struggle with his dad and everything like that. And Robert Meacham was cool, and I think they got a great actor to play him. I believe he played in Lord of the Rings as well. And they both are very fitting as family. They both had this similar kind of voice going on.
It's funny that you mentioned the Lord of the Rings thing, because I was like, I was hearing him for the first few episodes, and I'm like, where do I know that voice from? It was driving me crazy. I couldn't think of it, and I'm like, oh, Lord of the Rings. That's. And someone pointed it out to me. I'm like, that's where he's like. It just dawned on me. He has a very distinct voice. It's
yeah.
It's
but the guy that they had got playing his son, who looks like Justin Long and Josh Brolin combined to me, I felt like his voice was kind of similar as well. They have like these very deep, interesting voices, I thought. And I loved the dynamic between him and Ward and everything. And then the daughter's kind of kept out of the loop. So I thought that was kind of cool, but it wasn't revealed in an interesting way. Like everything they set up could be kind of cool, but then they just dropped it flat, and like everything was kind of done, and it was uninteresting, really. So it was kind of boring for me. Even the fights weren't really that entertaining. The kind of Bruce Lee kind of different levels of fighting through the tower and everything, where he was fought those Russians. That was cool, but then you went to this weird fight with this girl that's like poisoning him. And were we supposed to know her from Daredevil or something? Because I do not remember her from Daredevil in it.
I don't know.
Yeah, but the way they set her up and everything, and these other people, I felt like we should have known her from another one of the Netflix series. But like, we went to that weird fight, which was just bizarre, and then the third fight was just kind of forgettable for me. I agree with Chuck that Madame Mao was cool yet again, but then she had like this power where she kind of tossed Iron Fist aside, but then she gets caught by him, but doesn't really use the power. The whole thing was kind of weird, but boring at the same time, and like raised interesting things, but just kind of dropped them. So yeah, this is one of my least favorite Netflix superhero Marvel shows, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I guess to me, I think Chuck used it was all over the place. To me, yeah, it was all over the place and also underdeveloped in a lot of ways. I was talking to someone at work, and he thought like what the problem was, like when Finn Jones came on set, they're like, oh no, he can't fight. Like he just doesn't have the ability to make these fight scenes work. And on like Daredevil, they can't hide it because he doesn't have a mask or anything like that. And you can throw in stunt doubles here and there, but it's a lot more difficult when you got a very distinct look and you can't show his face at all. So I think that really hurt the action, because a lot of the action just seemed very slow and methodically paced, and like you could see them just like going through the motions. It was as if they weren't shooting for the movie sequences. They were like doing their run-throughs, but that's what they ended up kind of keeping in the film for a lot of them. Really, anything really that involved him for the most part. So I think that kind of hurt it. It did not have the physicality of what we would expect with Daredevil. And I know that's part of like his power is that the way he's more fluid and he's understanding of his senses, but it didn't really display that in an interesting way. But I think the biggest issue with the series, because I do like the Iron Fist character, they just focused on the least interesting parts of the character. The parts that really are skipped over or not really focused on in the comics, and just reference the cool stuff and reference his origin. It'd be like you making a Spider-Man movie, and all you do when you make the Spider-Man movie, it's just Peter Parker talking about all the cool stuff he did when he became Spider-Man. Because it's like, let me reference all this cool stuff I did when I became Iron Fist, fighting a dragon in a cave. And, I get maybe why it'd be kind of hard to put on screen, but there's just not enough context, I think, for the Iron Fist. I'm thinking of like a specific moment where he first uses the Iron Fist when he like bursts through the door. And it's meant to build up to this, like, really, when he bursts through the door in the mental ward, and it it feels like they're supposed to be building up to something, but it doesn't come off that way. I just don't feel like they really work to get people to understand the nature of why that's important. Like, there's always that classic saying of show don't tell, and this told everything. Like, everything was through him explaining it, and but it was just him talking about it. Like, there was nothing, for the most part. Like, they didn't do enough, really, to establish the Iron Fist itself, why it's important, and I think they could have incorporated a lot of his origin stuff. And I think that the problem is with, like, Danny Rand character is, like, this version of Danny Rand would probably work a lot better when he's next to someone like Luke Cage and they can work off of one another. But by himself, it didn't. I don't know. I did not like it as much. The Meacham stuff, I was okay. I went back and forth with it. Sometimes I liked it. Sometimes I didn't. I did like kind of where it led to by the end, at least with the son Ward. Like, at Ports, I hated him. Ports, I liked him, but some of his problems seemed to come kind of out of nowhere. Like his whole drug thing, it was like 4 episodes in, and suddenly that's happening, and then that goes away and comes back again. So I don't know. It just. I was disappointed. It was hard for me to get through. It was, I think I watched Luke Cage over a weekend. This took a lot longer to go through, and I think, honestly, it was the fact that my wife, I think, liked it more than I did, and the fact that I want to talk about it on the podcast. If that wasn't the case, I don't think I would have watched all the episodes. I probably would have stopped it, like I stopped Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or stopped, like, other DC shows that I didn't like. A huge disappointment, because I liked the Iron Fist character a lot, and I think there's a lot of potential. But it just, I don't know, it was thrown together. It seemed not to be well thought out. And I don't know if they just were given less time, so they're just putting things together too quickly, but it just didn't work for me. But Chuck, you mentioned you had some other things you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, just about the fight stuff. I think in the beginning, in the first couple episodes, I really did like the fight choreography. I thought... to me, it seemed very fluid, and it seemed like he was untouchable in a fight, which I really got into. I was all in for that. I'm like, oh, this is so awesome! Like you're sort of building up his reputation, and you're showing like he's almost like untouchable in a fight. Like he's just so well trained, and as they went on, he's just kind of getting his ass kicked by even lower level characters, and he starts messing up and getting hit a bunch of times, and I'm like, you're going around saying you're a better fighter than everyone, and you can't lose, and I think even specifically mentioned that I can't lose a fight and stuff like that, and he's trying to instruct Colleen on some things, and it's just it was totally off to me. He seemed really whiny, and it just kind of fell flat for me. Whatever they were trying to do there didn't work for me. In the beginning, I was really excited about it, but then it just fizzled out for me. The other thing, I think he did use the actual Iron Fist more than I expected him to be honest. I was thinking it was kind of going to be one of those things like the Godzilla movie where you only see it once every so often or whatever. I was kind of surprised how they actually did have him use it fairly often, so that was kind of cool. I thought they were going to get to the point where he had it in both fists, like in that video that Bakudo showed him.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been cool if they could have brought him around to that point where he could really focus to get it in both hands, but that was a little bit disappointing. But I don't know, it's not my least favorite Netflix show. I think I disliked Jessica Jones a little more, but this is definitely my it's third in the rankings. I think I would go Daredevil, Luke Cage, this, and then Jessica Jones. Only because I do like some old kung fu stuff, and a lot of stuff they did kind of mirrored the Bruce Lee famous movies and stuff, and that was kind of cool. So that saved it a little bit for me. But
what do you brought up? What did you think of the effect they used? Did it? I mean, it's a hard thing to do because it's legitimately a glowing fist. I did think that looked pretty good. It to me was subtle enough, but worked. It didn't look ridiculous, and actually looked much better than I expected it to.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, definitely. It looked pretty cool. I guess I could probably do without seeing the veins in the hand. You could probably do without that, but I guess they thought it looked more realistic or something.
Yeah, more anatomical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Greg brought up Rosario Dawson, Claire's character, and I was a little worried. Like, I thought they were going to error her character, like where you go away for a weekend and suddenly you're a superhero. And I was like, please don't make her part of the Defenders as someone who's fighting people. And I'm glad they kind of backed away from that. Like, I don't think she should be able to go toe to toe with an armed guard when she's been training for a few weeks or something like that. So I really like the fact that her character is supposed to be the anchor for the Defenders into the regular reality. So I didn't like some of the choices they made for her, but overall, typically when she was on screen, it was better. And I do think she's been, certainly the Rosario Dawson's been the huge linchpin with all these different series.
Yeah, I liked the way they did her kind of fighting style. She was kind of holding her own, but it was bumbling, stumbling, just happening into doing pretty well. And they did show her training with Colleen Wing at the beginning, and that's kind of how they introduced her and everything.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool, but I do like Rosario Dawson, and I do like her interactions with the characters and everything, and her role in the whole thing.
Does this have you guys at all worried for Defenders, considering he's the last Defender, and my guess is these events will somehow spill out into the Defenders, since it's dealing with the hand more so?
I think what worries me more is who the director is going to be, and I doubt it's going to be this director from Iron Fist. I'm not sure on that. I'd have to look that stuff up, but I think if they have the right guy doing it, I think he could probably sort of save the character of Danny Rand. I think he could probably make that a little better. So I'm not too worried about it, but I don't know. We'll see how he kind of gels with the other characters.
The people that are doing, or the Defenders, the showrunners, are going to be the people who did Daredevil. So Douglas Price.
Well, there you go.
Marco Ramirez. So they took over season 2 of Daredevil, and they're taking over Defenders as well.
Yeah, so that kind of definitely gives me some relief there.
Yeah, and I think with all of them together, it'll blend some out and averages each other out, kind of, to make a good show.
Yeah, and I think it's only going to be 8 episodes, which I think I'm happy about, because even for the seasons and shows I liked with Marvel, I do think that I don't think they needed 13 for a lot of them. I think they could have condensed a few things to cut the fat a little bit, and I think with Defenders, it's probably going to be the case. My guess is going to be huge action sequences. I do like what they're doing with the hand, and how they have the different but different parts of the hand that are that are feuding within itself. And I don't know if that's ever been part of the comics before, but my hope is if they do a season 2 of Iron Fist, that they're able to kind of incorporate the 7 cities and more of his mystical aspect, because I would highly recommend reading Brubaker's run on Iron Fist. It's great, even if you're not an Iron Fist fan. And then it's almost like a Mortal Kombat. They have a tournament that occurs, and all these different worlds come together with their warriors, but then it continues after that. So, and there's a mythology for Iron Fist where there's been different ones throughout time. It's a lot of fun. I like that series a lot, and I was hoping to take more from that. I haven't read the original stuff of Iron Fist, so I don't know if this is more in the direction of his first origin in the 70s, but I don't know. It just,
as far as I gather, and I'm not an Iron Fist reader by any means. I've never really read any of his stuff. Only when he kind of was in New Avengers and stuff like that. I think the Meachums were a big part of his history and stuff like that, and everything with his parents and stuff like that. So they kind of did pull that stuff right from that. But one thing I did want to ask you guys was, did you have any specific scenes in the show that were cringeworthy moments that you can remember, that were just nails on a chalkboard to you? Because I did have one in particular. I was curious if you guys did.
Yeah, the whole needle thing that I was talking about, the second fight that he had, kind of going through the Bruce Lee tower thing, that woman that had was using different venoms, that whole thing was just cringeworthy to me.
For me, it was anytime he was meditating, because it looked awful. Anything that had blue screen, it just looked bad. Looked really cheap. And I think it's the first or second episode where he's like in the park, and like a homeless man comes by, and he's like, "Here, let me give you a load of exposition, and I have a cell phone that magically works somehow, and we clearly didn't know how to write this stuff in, so we're just gonna throw it into this conversation, which makes no sense, and you'll never see me again for the rest of the series. Peace." Yeah, those were the moments that were cringeworthy to me.
Yeah, I think one for me, it probably sounds kind of silly, but when they allow him to become part of the company, he takes over the majority shareholder position, and they actually let him, work there on a day-to-day basis. And he comes into his first meeting, and he drags the chair all the way around the table, and he's like, "Oh, I just want to sit next to Joy," and I'm like, stop it! Like, what the hell? Like, no adult person would do that. I'm like, why? Oh my gosh, that's just.
I'd like to add multiple scenes, but kind of one experience altogether. Anything where Joy and Ward were together, it seemed like there was some kind of incestuous, like they were into each other thing going on, which I found bizarre.
Yeah, they did not.
There's a little.
Their vibes were not brothers. It was
No,
was
it was not. Yeah. I'm wondering if they're like dating off screen or something. There was something like intense going on there.
There's a little Cruel Intentions vibe going on there.
Yeah, just a little bit. It was very creepy. It was less so as they went on through the season, because they weren't around each other as much and they were kind of arguing more. But at the beginning, it was definitely, there was like some kind of weird vibe going on.
Nice. Yeah, that was. The Meachums themselves were. I didn't think they were going to be as big of a part of the series as they ended up being, but yeah, what are you going to do? So. All right, well, anything else about Iron Fist before we bring this episode to a close? I did look up some Easter eggs, but honestly, there wasn't really any ones I felt necessary. I didn't see any Stan Lee cameo like we've seen with a few of the other ones.
Oh, you missed it?
Did his photo appear again in here?
I think it was Colleen and Claire were talking on the street, and they kind of turned around, and Claire walked away, and they kind of left the camera there for a second, and you can see a little Stan Lee poster hanging on the thing.
Oh yeah, I completely missed that. So that was on me. So
I kind of wasn't really focused, and I think I was doing other things while the show was going on.
You were fighting the hand?
Yeah, I think I was actually fighting the hand, because I think I was probably drawing something at the time.
You were using your own Iron Fist, yeah. So.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
Very nice. Alrighty, well, let us know what you thought of Iron Fist. You can do so by emailing us at feedback@geekcastradio.com or talkingincircles@live.com. We're on Facebook and Twitter. Just search Talking in Circles GCRN. You guys are also on Twitter. What are your Twitter names?
I am at Heroic Age Chuck.
And I am at the Crate Forge.
And I am at Movie Revolt. But that'll be it for this week. We'll be back next week. Same time, same channel, same podcast feed, but for now.
This has been Chuck.
This has been Greg, or the Iron Fister.
And this has been Dan, and we've been Talking in Circles. We'll see you next week. I'm glad you made one fisting joke,
Iron
Greg,
needs love,
because
too.
I was like, am I going to be the only one that did this? And without, so I appreciate it.
I figure I even it out. You did it at the beginning, I'll do it at the end,
That's usually how that works, yeah.
Iron needs love too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm
just waiting for him to meet Iron Man, and it's like, just the fist, huh? Just, yeah.